I often review headphones at a higher price point than these, but every once in a while you encounter a piece of gear that offers a tremendous amount of value for its price tag. And in this case, the Fifine X3 Bluetooth headphones, I think, have a really exciting batch of features for $50. A lot of things that you don't normally find until you're up into the couple $100 type of price point. So I wanted to talk through some of what stood out to me using these for a couple of weeks in this video. Quick overview, you've got features like a 3.5mm jack for optional corded use, included detachable microphone, swivel out, boom in front of the face, active noise cancellation and a transparency mode, a soft comfortable headband and ear pads, and it has a foldable design. In my testing, I synced these to my phone, my iPad, and my Steam Deck to do some gaming. So let's talk about the sound quality in the Bluetooth first. I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised here. When I gamed with these headphones, the detail of effects and things going on, going into menus, swapping guns, reloading, was pretty crisp, actually. The bass was surprisingly solid. I went into a pair of headphones like this expecting that to be a bit lacking, and it was pretty decent. Now, the really deep sub bass is a little lacking compared to some of the other headphones I had, but that's pretty much to be expected when you're comparing a $50 headphone against quite a few $100 headphones. Those are usually things that you're expecting, but I would say explosions and most instruments that I listen to on music with these actually sounded fairly full. These have a somewhat warm sound to them, but overall I would actually praise them for their tonal balance. The mid-range doesn't sound super scooped out. The highs are a little sibilant, but I wouldn't say that they're harsh or overly bright. And while the bass is somewhat warm, it doesn't feel bloated like the Sony XM4s that these actually look a fair bit like. A lot of people have said that about those headphones, and so your mileage may vary. If you wanted the super bass of headphones like that, these may be a little bit lacking for you, but if you're looking for more of a tonal balance with decent bass, these actually deliver fairly well. Probably a comment that I'll be making a lot in this review because I just thought it repeatedly when I was trying these is for a $50 headphone, what you're getting is really good. The level of detail and the level of bass that you get for a $50 headphone, I think, is pretty solid. The microphone that you stick on the front is also surprisingly good. It does suffer a little bit from what I've noticed on a lot of headphones that have a built-in boom style mic, which is that it's very sensitive. And so if you have a lot of noise in your environment or background sound, it will pick that up. And you have to be very deliberate with positioning. I started by swiveling it so it was right in front of my mouth, and it picks up everything. Your breathing, any mouth sounds you make, etc. When I've done phone calls with these on and asked the person I was talking to, what do you hear? How clear am I? That was a comment that they made was, your voice is clear, but I'm hearing your breathing, and it's a little creepy. And so it wasn't until I swiveled the boom mic out so it kind of stuck straight out to the side of my mouth, then people were saying I sounded clear and I wasn't picking up more than you needed. So just be aware of that when you get these. But I would say that using them as a gaming headphone and having the boom mic to talk to your friends, these will do a pretty good job. Your voice should sound pretty clear. And I will provide a mic sample of just recording audio 3.5mm corded to my MacBook with the boom mic as the microphone, and you can hear that here. Okay, this is a microphone test with the boom mic right in front of my mouth, wearing the headphones, talking at, I guess a fairly moderate volume in a quiet room. Bluetooth range on these is excellent, actually. I have two areas of my property where routinely, on all of the AirPods that I have and other Bluetooth headphones that I've used, reliably the signal will cut out. If I leave my iPad or iPhone on my table in the kitchen, which is about the center of my house and the center of my property, if I walk all the way to my tool shed while I'm listening to something, it will cut out just before I get into the shed. Likewise, if I walk all the way to the front of my property to my mailbox, just before I get to the mailbox, it will cut out. I mention that to say neither of those things actually happen on these. And so the signal was strong and clear all the way to my mailbox and all the way inside of my tool shed. And so these are surprisingly, when we're talking AirPods Pros, AirPods Max, significantly more expensive headphones, these $50 Fifines actually outrange them by a fair degree. And so that's a real feather in the cap for these that I wanted to call out. They have excellent Bluetooth range. All right, so let's talk about the noise canceling and transparency modes. First of all, even having those modes on a $50 headphone I think is pretty impressive, because most of the other headphones, the Bose ones, Sony XM4s, XM5s, those are now getting up into the $300-ish range. Obviously, when you're talking about AirPods Pros, AirPods Max, you're still talking $250 to $500 range. So for getting active noise canceling on a $50 pair of headphones, impressive. Now, the degree of noise canceling that you get with it off, just because these are sealed headphones, is actually decent. So you may not even need to have it on all the time, because sealed headphones do a decent job in themselves. But when I kicked it on, when I was doing things like washing dishes or mowing the lawn, as long as the sound was constant, like in the case of washing dishes, the sound of the faucet, it did a pretty good job of cutting that out. Where it struggled a little bit was like people talking or my son playing in the other room in the background, sudden sounds that were allowed. It didn't block those out as well. But as I've said a couple of times now, to me, for a $50 headphone with noise canceling, I'm not expecting class-leading noise canceling, and having it is still very nice. I think that's a nice plus. The transparency mode, similar story. It doesn't sound as like, wow, this is realistic. It's like I'm not even wearing headphones as the AirPods Max, for instance, but those are probably the best transparency mode in the industry, so that's not surprising. But they are functional. If you want to be able to wear sealed headphones and still hear everything going on around you, it does a good job. I think the thing that's probably its greatest con is just the level of microphone detail on these is obviously not as good as a much more expensive headphone, and what you're hearing is what everything around you would sound like on a fairly cheap microphone. That's not a huge deal, and it's functional, like I said. And for the price point, having a transparency mode as even an option is a really nice plus, and I wouldn't hold that against it. And for somebody looking for Bluetooth headphones that's looking to spend under $100, this is a strong offering in that regard. Interestingly, though, the mode switching button doesn't work when you're in a phone call. I'm wondering if that's because when you switch the modes, it actually plays a voice in the headphone saying, like, noise canceling on, transparency mode. And I suspect it doesn't want to bother you in the middle of your phone call by saying that, but because it can't say it, it just doesn't allow you to switch. That's a minor gripe that I would have of these headphones, that suppose I was using noise canceling or something, but now that I'm in a phone call, I want to be able to hear what's going on around me. I can't decide to switch that now that I'm in a call. I'm stuck with whatever mode the headphones were in. That's a minor con. I wish that were different on these headphones. That would be a note for improvement, maybe on subsequent models, but not a huge deal, just something to be aware of. The build and comfort. These are an all-plastic design, so it makes them very lightweight. On the head, that means that they're pretty comfortable. This ear pad is cushy, and like I've commented in pretty much all of my headphone reviews, as a bald guy, I have no hair for cushion, and so to me, maybe more than for some, the quality of the headband on top stands out. If it's not a very good headband, that will bother the top of my head very quickly. I don't even have to listen for a 30 or more minute session, just maybe 10 minutes if it's a bad headband and the top of my head is hurting. I say that to say I did an hour or two gaming session on my Steam Deck using these. They were comfortable the whole time. And so that's a thumbs up for me on the headband. And I would say the same for the ear pads. They're very cushy and they accommodate wearing glasses. That's another sticking point for glasses wearers, that sometimes if the headband is not ideal, it'll kind of press it into the side of your head hard and be uncomfortable, or kind of create some leakage because of the gap that your glasses create. I don't notice that with these. And they don't have a really strong clamping force, so there's not a lot of pressure on the sides of your head. And yet, without a lot of clamping force, you can still move your head pretty hard and they don't slide out of place. So I think that design of these is pretty well done, actually, and makes them very comfortable. And definitely, again, for a $50 headphone to be that comfortable, that's a big thumbs up. I like that these fold up kind of small, so that you could put them in the case that they came with or in your bag. Pretty nice. That was actually a complaint I've heard people say of the newer Sony XM5s, that they did away with the ability to fold like the older ones had. These retain that, and they take some obvious design cues from the Sony XM series. There's nothing particularly special about the buttons on these, but they do have a satisfying click, and they're not mushy. Sometimes on electronics, especially at somewhat lower price points like these, that'll be something you notice. I've had that on flashlights that I've demoed before, where the button is a bit mushy, and sometimes when you click it, it doesn't count, and you have to click it a few times. I'm pleased to report that's not an issue on these. Each one of the buttons is very snappy, and I've never had where I've clicked one of them that nothing happens. So that's another plus for these. I can't say, because I've only used these for a few weeks, what the long-term durability would be like of them. But I would say, even for a plastic design, as long as you're careful putting them on and off your head, and you're not like grabbing them and just pulling them off real hard with one hand, there shouldn't be an issue. They're obviously not going to be as durable as metallic framed headphones, but $50 price point. And of course, like I said, the upside of a plastic design is that it's very light. So hopefully by now you can understand the point that I've made about why for $50 I feel like this is a really nice combo of features. The sound quality is surprisingly good for the price point. I wasn't sure going into this what to expect on a $50 headphone, when what I listen to a lot of the time generally is $300 to $500 in that area. I think it's actually pretty solid. When I was playing some Tomb Raider and some other games on my Steam Deck, I wasn't thinking to myself the whole time, oh man, this doesn't sound anywhere near my other headphones. I mean, there's obviously a difference, but it wasn't like distracting or a negative. And for a gamer that's looking for a sub $100 headphone, I think these do the job really well. And like I said before, the idea that you can have noise cancellation and a transparency mode and an actual on-off button, looking at you, AirPods Max, and the ability to 3.5 millimeter them into a computer, and they come with a boom mic for nice talking for phone calls and gaming, all for around that $50. That's a great buy. So I can definitely recommend these to folks. If there's something that I didn't cover here that you're wondering, feel free to throw your questions below and I'll do my best to answer it. Otherwise, I appreciate you watching. I hope this was helpful to you, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.